Have you ever felt that the harder you try to hold on to someone, the more distant they become? Ignored messages, awkward conversations, and a growing gap. You wonder, is there a way to make them truly miss you without trying so hard? The answer is yes. In today's video, I'll share with you 4 principles from Stoic philosophy that will not only help someone remember you, but also appreciate your presence more than ever. If you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. It means a lot to us. Thank you for your support. Let's get started. Principle 1. Letting go of control when every effort only exhausts you. There was a time when I found myself caught in a whirlwind of emotions in a relationship. She grew increasingly distant. Her messages became sparse, and the harder I tried to hold on, the more everything slipped away. I would send messages to check in, only to receive indifferent replies, or sometimes no response at all. I kept asking myself what I had done wrong. That confusion drove me to send yet another message, hoping for a reaction. But the more I tried, the deeper her silence grew, and I felt like I was chasing a shadow. Then one day, I came across a quote by Marcus Aurelius. "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." It was like a wake-up call. I realized I had been wrong to try and control things beyond my reach, her feelings and reactions. The only thing I could control was my own thoughts and actions. I decided to stop texting, not out of anger or defeat, but because I needed to regain my balance. Instead of waiting for her to respond, I asked myself, what would make me feel better right now? I signed up for a cooking class, something I had wanted to try for a long time. Over the next few days, instead of dwelling on her silence, I immersed myself in learning new recipes and finding joy in accomplishing something meaningful. Then, something unexpected happened. About a week later, one evening, I got a message from her. "You seem really busy lately. Why haven't you been texting? Are you okay?" I smiled. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I no longer needed her attention to feel okay. I replied calmly, without urgency or anxiety. And it was that calmness that, surprisingly, made her more curious about me. Letting go of control doesn't mean giving up on someone. It's about reclaiming your emotional independence and confidence. When you stop trying so hard to hold on, others are given the space to recognize your value, and sometimes the moment you stop is when they begin to turn back toward you. Principle 2. Self-improvement. Be the best version of yourself. When I stopped seeking her attention, I began to realize an undeniable truth. A relationship is not the entirety of my life. For so long, I had been so focused on holding on to her that I forgot about the things that used to bring me joy and energy. Morning runs in the fresh air, books that opened new worlds, or learning something exciting like a new language. All of these had been set aside. I asked myself, if I no longer depended on her attention, what would I do to feel happier? The answer was surprisingly simple. I would return to the things I loved. I started by running every morning, a seemingly simple habit that gave me a sense of freedom and control. Each step along the familiar path felt like a step toward reclaiming my inner peace. Next, I signed up for a Spanish class, something I'd always wanted to try but never got around to. In those evening classes, I found myself laughing more, enjoying the challenge of pronouncing difficult phrases and feeling proud as I made progress little by little. I also ventured into photography, something I thought I didn't have the patience for. Wandering with a camera, searching for beautiful angles in everyday life, felt like rediscovering the world through a fresh lens. What was fascinating was that as I began to fully live in these small joys, everything around me started to shift. One day, I got a message from her. "You're learning Spanish. That sounds interesting. Can you teach me a few phrases? This time, instead of feeling nervous or anxious about her message, I simply smiled and replied calmly. I realized that when you focus on improving yourself, you not only regain your confidence, but also create a natural allure, not by trying, but because you're genuinely living a life worth living. Not long after, she messaged again. You seem pretty busy these days. We should meet up soon so you can tell me about your Spanish class. This experience taught me a profound lesson. When you live true to your values, you don't need to seek anyone's attention. Others are naturally drawn to the energy you exude. Self-improvement isn't about impressing others. It's a journey to discover the best version of yourself. It could be as simple as spending 15 minutes reading each day, learning a new skill, or just dedicating time to what makes you happy. These small changes not only enrich your life, but also inspire those around you. When you live a purposeful and passionate life, you don't need to ask for anyone's attention. Who you are, your confidence, positive energy, and zest for life becomes impossible to ignore. That's the true power of self-improvement. Principle 3. Use silence as a tool. Let distance speak for your value. There was a time when I realized I was always the one initiating every conversation. I would send the first message, check in first, and even be the one to suggest meeting up. At first, I thought my initiative showed how much I cared, but over time I began to see that my presence had become too predictable. I was always there, always available, and because of that, my presence was no longer appreciated as it once was. That's when I remembered a quote from Seneca. Silence is sometimes the best answer. I understood that silence wasn't about ending a relationship or hurting the other person. It's about creating space. Space for the other person to reflect and recognize your value. Silence isn't a weapon, it's an opportunity. I decided to try a different approach. Instead of continuing to send messages frequently, I stopped. Not out of anger or resentment, but because I wanted to focus on myself and give us both some breathing room. I used that time to focus on things that mattered more, completing personal projects, indulging in my hobbies, and even trying a few meditation sessions to help clear my mind. A few days later, I received a message from her. How have you been lately? Why haven't you been texting as much? I smiled. She didn't bring up past conversations or accuse me of being silent. She simply wanted to know what I'd been up to. For the first time in a long while, I felt that she genuinely missed me. Not because I was always present, but because I had given her the space to realize it. Silence has the power to spark curiosity and desire, but only when used sincerely. It's not a tactic to manipulate someone's emotions. It's a way to give both sides the chance to reassess the value of the relationship. When you remain silent, you're not only giving the other person space, but also giving yourself the opportunity to gain clarity. Silence isn't a permanent distance. It's a way to create balance between presence and absence. Don't be afraid that silence will weaken the connection. If the relationship truly has value, the other person will feel your absence. And when they reach out to you, it's a sign that your presence genuinely matters. Remember, silence is not the end. Sometimes it's the most profound way to affirm your worth without uttering a single word. Principle 4. Emotional independence. Be free in your emotions. I used to believe that in a relationship my emotions and my partner's had to be completely intertwined. If she was upset, I had to do everything to make her happy. If she was distant, I felt guilty. But one time, things unfolded in a way I didn't expect. That day, she had a terrible day. My messages, meant to comfort her, were met with silence. I began to worry. Did I do something wrong? Am I not enough for her to rely on? But before I fell into a spiral of self-blame, I stopped. I remembered a quote by Epictetus. You cannot control the actions of others, but you can control how you respond. For the first time, instead of chasing after her emotions, I chose to step back, not because I didn't care, but because I realized that her happiness wasn't solely my responsibility, and my emotions shouldn't depend on her actions. I sent her a simple message. I understand that you're not feeling great today. If you need me, I'm here. But if not, I'll give you the space you need. Surprisingly, instead of creating distance between us, this step back opened up space where she could feel more at ease. Not long after, she messaged me, "Thank you. I just needed time to think, but your not pressuring me made me feel much more at peace." I realized that emotional independence doesn't mean being indifferent or detached. It means knowing how to regulate yourself and not letting your emotions be dictated by someone else's fluctuations. Instead of reacting instinctively, you learn to observe, empathize, and make thoughtful decisions. Emotional independence also helps you understand the value of stepping back. Sometimes it's not constant presence, but calmness and restraint that create the greatest sense of security in a relationship. When you stop trying to fix someone else's emotions, you give them the space to adjust on their own, while also giving yourself the time to maintain balance. She later told me, "What I value most about you isn't just that you're there, but that you never make me feel pressured. You're there when I need you, but you also give me enough space to be myself." Her words made me realize that emotional independence isn't about distancing yourself from others. It's about walking alongside them while maintaining your sense of self. You don't try to control their emotions, nor do you let yours be controlled. Emotional freedom is the most precious gift you can give to yourself and to others. It keeps you from being bound by others' instability while creating a positive energy that makes people feel at ease around you. Remember, a relationship isn't about emotional entanglement. It's about complementing each other. When you are emotionally independent, you become not just reliable, but also a source of emotional support for your partner. And that's why they remember you, not because you do everything for them, but because you provide a sense of peace they can't easily find elsewhere. True charisma doesn't come from forced efforts, but from living authentically according to your values. The 4 principles, letting go of control, self-improvement, using silence, and emotional independence, are the keys to making someone remember you naturally. You don't need to strive for recognition. Focus on becoming the best version of yourself, and your magnetism will radiate effortlessly. You'll be unforgettable not just in the eyes of others, but also in your own journey. Thank you for joining me in this video. If you found these insights helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video to spread its value to more people. Let's continue building a life worth remembering, because you deserve nothing less. See you in the next video.